You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Hello, I'm Steven Willis from the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. He is Brian Smith, the Recruiting Czar of Locked On, and he is here because of LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is the college football recruiting sponsor across the Locked On Podcast Network. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. Terms and conditions apply. Now, Brian, this weekend, we're talking to you a little bit early this week because you were going off to do some media days down here in my neck of the woods. But this weekend is the Cookouts weekend. Everybody's going to do it. I think they call it Big Cat Cookout or whatever at Auburn. Alabama might just call it Alabama Cookout. They can call it whatever they want to. But Ole Miss calls it Juice Fest. And there's some interesting players that are going to be at Juice Fest, including Shakai Mills-Knight's going to be there. I think Jared Smith is supposed to be there. The
very important recruit. He's deciding on August 3rd.
Yeah, and a lot of players are deciding on August 3rd, by the way.
I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, that is one of the most bizarre things ever. But this is the last, essentially, football cookout that might ever happen in college sports because next year, all of July is going to be dead, and you're probably going to have a signing day at the end of June. So this might even get pushed up further into May.
It's hard to say. The June thing is up in the air for the signing day. They're trying not – the SEC schools don't want it. Everybody's fighting. It's an ugly scenario. If it doesn't and it stays in December, you'll just see it up the last weekend of June. If not, you're right. It's really hard to say how they're going to do it.
Yeah, we're just going to move this recruiting calendar all the way up into the point where sophomores are being like full-fledged, full-court press recruit.
Don't get me started on that.
Seriously. But Chad Simmons put 2 RPMs. He's with On 3 in for Ole Miss prospects, and that is with one of which was Shakai Mills-Knight. And this dude, we've talked about him on this show a couple of times. This is a big-time running back that you said kind of comps favorably to what Quinshon Judkins was coming out of high school.
Very similar players. Good size, well over 200 pounds, pretty shifty, and they put their foot in the ground and go north-south. The running styles are pretty much the same. Judkins, I think, to his credit, in the moment was as good and as crafty as any running back in the country at grinding it out when the play really wasn't there to hit it big. He got the 3-yard run when other guys would have lost 2. He always fell forward. He broke the first tag. Like, he was just annoying. This kid can be that. I'm not saying he's Judkins yet. Don't get me wrong. But Quinshon was really good in between the tackles when he had to be, and everybody knew he was going to get the ball. He didn't always have the highest average, but he had 8 in the box and still go get 4 yards for you. He's a good football player. So this kid can take the pounding. He can catch. He's at a good high school program, and he's national recruit too.
Yeah, and we've talked about on this show several times that Lane Kiffin and Kevin Smith, they have a type at running back. You can look at Ole Miss's running backs and you can see a common thread of particularly their feet. You can see these guys being able to go laterally just as quick as they're going forward, and because of that, it doesn't matter if they're 210 pounds or if they're 190 pounds, because if you can do that, you're going to take full-on shots and turn them into glancing blows, and glancing blows and turn them into missed tackles, and missed tackles is going to turn it into extra yardage.
That's exactly the way it is. Ole Miss running backs, think about this. How often do you watch an Ole Miss game, even the third-string guys in the game, and he takes a direct shot for the middle linebacker? Doesn't happen very often. They're very elusive. You're right about the evaluation. Lateral movement, I know that's, coaches say go north-south. Sometimes you got to make guys miss or you get plowed. That first guy in the SEC is usually not a very friendly fellow. So you have to make guys miss. They do a great job of finding them. Different sizes. Judkins was a lot bigger than some of the other guys they've had, but they always have guys that make you miss.
Yeah, and listen to this. Whenever I was working at Ole Miss in 2006, we had a freshman by the name of Dexter McCluster. And Dexter McCluster got put back on kickoff return, as players like Dexter usually do as true freshmen, to get them on the field. And he almost got killed by Vanderbilt on a kickoff return. He never returned another kickoff after that. But Dexter McCluster, from that moment on, whenever he got healthy, learned that, hey, just a subtle movement to the side, just to take a little bit off of that direct hit. And all of a sudden, you never saw Dexter McCluster get hit solid the rest of his time in college. And that is the point where I realized, hey, this is probably the most underrated feature for a running back in college football, is the ability to not take solid blows. Think about if you're a history major in the NFL, how many times did you see Barry Sanders get hit hard?
Same with Emmett. That's why they lasted so long. You can't take those shots. You just can't do it. You know, if you do, you're done. It's not friendly to get hit by 300-pound men. So
no. And we're obsessed with like the Mike Allstotts and all that. We like
those
all that
exceptions.
collision. Yeah, but if you want to last a long time and you want to be a really good running back in the league, you have to learn how to take that full contact hit that every other back is going to take a full shot and turning into a glancing blow to where he just gets you down by your shoestrings. If you can do that, you'll last in this league.
Unfortunately, a lot of guys learn, like McCluster did on that return, a little later than they probably should have. But your point still stands.
So, and the other player that got an RPM over the weekend was LaDarian Clardy, the safety. He's really good. But I looked at his film, and because he's listed as a safety, and everybody lists him as a safety, but he is a player in Florida that as soon as you cut on the film, he is the best safety on the field. He's probably the best corner on the field. He's the best quarterback on the field, the best running back, the best wide receiver. Whatever you ask him to do, he can do. So my question to you is, if he commits to Ole Miss and Ole Miss gets him on campus, how important will it be for Ole Miss to identify his role and start developing immediately?
He's so good. I don't know if you would want to do that because, like, he's a really good receiver, just as an example. The hardest position on defense now is that nickel spot. He might be able to play it. So at some point he might move into that, but I'd give him a look at corner. Like, he's athletic, and you know how hard corner is, Steven, at the SEC level. You at least got to give him a go at it. Because, like, if you can find kids that are 6 foot and taller that can play corner, you know the deal. You've scouted. There are many of them that can really play physical like he does. I'd give him a shot at that. But if he wanted to play receiver, like, you know, Lane, I mean, he's not going to yell at you.
Yeah, his personnel department and all that, they're fantastic at identifying players and putting them in the roles. They know exactly what they can do before they commit what they are going to do with that player. Because whenever I was at Ole Miss it was 2005. I guess it's story time with Steve today. There was a player named Miko McSwain. He ended up having to be the running back because he was just a terrific athlete, and Ole Miss had to have a running back. But they tried him at linebacker. They tried him at corner. They tried him at safety. He kept moving all around. And to me, he's a cautionary tale that he may not hit his entire potential because of indecision and not knowing what to do. It's kind of like the dog that catches the car when you get a player like that sometime.
Yeah, be careful for what you ask. There are certain guys like that in college football. They're so gifted, like they run a 4-3-5 or something. Every position coach wants him. Well, he still needs to learn the playbook at one spot first. Don't be the master of nothing. You know what I mean? Be the master of linebacker or safety or whatever it may be. It's a dangerous road. Some guys still figure it out, but they get their growth stunted a little bit because college football playbooks are not friendly sometimes.
Yeah, and Ole Miss is being real careful with this situation with like Suntarine Perkins. And not to move him all over the place and get him ready to go because they don't want to make the same mistake that LSU made a year ago with Harold Perkins. That I think in their mind.
He's playing linebacker again this year, by the way.
Yeah.
We'll have the LSU discussion later this year, but that program drives me bananas.
It's pretty weird. But anyway, thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. When we come back, we'll talk about some other players that are expected to be at Juice Fest and just kind of shoot the breeze with Brian while we have him. But first, passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your money's guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com alive. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. I love sports. I love them so much, I never want them to start. But the playoffs wind down, we get fewer and fewer games. And eventually, the sports just aren't sportsing the way we want them to. But FanDuel lets you keep the sports going whenever you want. All you have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime you are in the mood. Maybe you want to bet on Ole Miss and their over-under of 9.5 wins this season, or Jackson Dart at plus 1,500 to win the Heisman Trophy. Now is the chance to do that. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and you have to turn down the volume with all of that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you each and every single day to bring you all of the stories without that streaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. So with Juice Fest this weekend, Brian, I'm really interested. A couple of players that just kind of clicked with me, and Jared Smith is supposedly on that list coming to the Cookout. Now, whether he shows up, that's a completely different thing. But I think that's probably at least a good sign for at least taking a flyer on somebody of this caliber.
Jared Smith is the rare guy that very few schools get a chance to get out of the state of Alabama. He's 6'6", he's 240-ish, and get this, Steven, he has a size 18 shoe, okay? Yeah, he has to order everything. He's not buying nothing at the local Dick's. He's a big kid, great kid, and he's a natural athlete on the edge. Nobody knows exactly what he's going to play long-term. They just want the frame, and he's an easy kid to get along with. The other schools involved right now are Auburn and South Carolina. It's hard to get kids away from Auburn, and I think he's going to be at their event too this weekend, and he's committing August 3rd. This is a national top 100 kid, pretty much by everybody. Could end up at strong side and or D tackle, but again, he's a big kid, a lot of upside. This would be the steal of the day. You know how much Lane likes to troll Auburn. That's where most people think he's going to go, but if he could pull this off, I'm sure it'd make Lane's end of the month very, very happy.
Yeah, and a lot of different players are coming up. Like Hayward Howard is supposed to be at this thing. And the reason I bring his name up is whenever I was at Ole Miss, his dad was playing for Ole Miss. And that's kind of like a time moves on type, like slap in the face a little bit. But, several commits are going to be at this, like all cookouts. We're going to be on Caleb Cunningham watch. There's a chance he is at the Ole Miss Cookout. That's what they're saying. He'll probably be down at the Alabama Cookout as well. But Hayden Bradley's supposed to be there as well. And this is a guy that committed to Ole Miss a while back. And all of a sudden you heard that Florida was really in on him and everybody's in on him. He's at Buford, which is a football powerhouse. But he seems fairly firm right now.
Well, I mean, maybe he just wants to be where he's got a link. And the offense is not hard to understand why a kid would want to play there if you're flex tight end. Flex tight end is just another phrase for big receiver. So obviously, Ole Miss has a history there. Lane has a history with him, and he's really good at play calling. So I'm not surprised. The only question is does Georgia get involved or something like that? Maybe Ohio State or somebody later. Because otherwise, I think he's going to go play for Ole Miss. He's a good football player. Again, he's a Buford. For those you don't know, that program's been good for as long as I can remember. They got Power 5 kids every single year.
All right, so I'm going to ask you about some 26s and put you on the spot a little bit, some players that you might not know. But these are some other players, 26s, that could be in Oxford this weekend as well. But DJ Williams out of Tampa, Florida, Carrollwood.
I know him personally. Great kid, elite academic kid, elite high school. Costs almost $30,000 a year to go there. That's a guy that can play corner, receiver, or safety, national recruit, Miami, Notre Dame, Florida. Everybody wants him. That's a big-time player.
All right, staying in the state of Florida, Michael Clayton, a quarterback out of Sanford, Florida.
Pocket kid that can move some, has the frame you're looking for. He was a 6'3" kid as a freshman, got the arm. He can play in the SEC. He would fit Lane's offense well because he's accurate and he's got the arm strength to throw the ball down the field.
Yes, and we talked about Ryder Lyons, so we don't need to go there again, but Luke Fahey from Mission Viejo, California.
Know him personally because he plays with California Power. A couple of my friends operate that organization. He has blown up on the national scene. He's 6'1", really athletic kid that can run RPO, obviously fits Lane. He just won the state championship at Mission Viejo last year as the quarterback. Big-time player. He'll be a national top 100 kid.
Is Mission Viejo the high school that Bryce Young was at?
No, he went to Mater Dei.
Okay. Yeah, I get my California schools mixed up. Now, another California kid is a quarterback, Michael Mitchell from San Francisco, Archbishop Reardon.
That's a program that every now and then has somebody. He's a little smaller, but Lane's not afraid the height. He wants athletes at the quarterback position, and he fits. I don't know him personally. I haven't seen him live or anything, but if Lane's recruiting a kid from San Francisco, he's got to have some juice. I guarantee it, because why would you waste your time otherwise?
Yeah, and I think D.D. Daniels is supposed to be there as well.
Well, that's another kid I don't know much about, but I've heard his name. I don't know much about him either.
So should be pretty interesting. Now, tell everybody what, by the time they watch this, you will have already done it, but tell everybody what you have on the agenda this week.
I'm going down to Orlando for the big event for all these high schools in the area that you're from, actually. They come and they meet the media. They get interviewed, get photos and everything, and you find out about what's going on with recruits. There'll be probably a half dozen, 10 kids there that have Ole Miss offers, and we just get a chance to meet them and see what they're like and get some recruiting intel. It's like 60, 70 schools in the greater Orlando to Daytona area. They come to it. It's really important for everybody in the recruiting business because you get everybody in one spot, air-conditioned, food, and everything. It's absolutely fantastic.
And then from there, you're going down to IMG.
Yeah, the next weekend I could do the same thing, but it's just one school. IMG's not really a high school. It's a small college. But, yeah, the next weekend I'm going to IMG, and they've got kids that Ole Miss is after too. But I just automatically come to IMG. They email me all the time. Hey, just so you know, we're having another event. Are you coming? Like, they're just used to me being there. It's just the number one stop on the tour. You got to go to IMG.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen. We have the most perspective surrounding Ole Miss sports, and it's one of the many reasons why we're the number one Ole Miss podcast out there. So thank you, everybody, for your support. And now you can become a Locked On Ole Miss insider in what is sure to be the best way to follow Ole Miss sports, and certainly the easiest. It is a texting program where you ask to be notified about everything relevant around Ole Miss sports, and you get this without having to deal with the message board full of trolls. And the best part is it comes with a 14-day free trial, going to add perks as it grows, and it should be the future of college sports coverage, if we're going to be honest. There's a link down in the description, but we would certainly appreciate you doing that as well. But anyway, Brian, man, thank you so much for stopping by, and we'll talk to you next week, buddy.
Thank you very much, sir.